You know what? We'll just do it like this. Hello and welcome. Thank you very much for joining. This is the Dynamics of Personal versus Public Leadership with Michele and two guests who are joining as well. So Michele, we've got a lot to cover in this presentation. You've had a lot of thought behind all of this. We're going to be covering the differences between the dynamics, some case studies, leadership styles, the actual leadership culture between. I'm sure there's lots more to cover than that as well. But yeah, we'll just be hanging around for about 2 to 5 minutes as everyone comes in. If you have any questions at any time as you go through, or even if you want to just say hi, then feel free to just post a quick link in the chat and a quick comment, and so we know that you're here and you can see everything okay. I'll just add the guests as well. So Michele, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. And I had a chat with you before. It seems that it's cold everywhere in Europe, but I am in a warm part of Europe. So for me, cold is like 15 degrees, where for you it's freezing.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that was considered warm weather for us, I think. But I'm sure Mark, who's from the UK, and Eduardo over in Mexico, I'm sure they can have their own opinions on. I imagine the weather in Mexico is quite different to how it is now in the UK, where it's -2.
How hot is there in Querétaro, Eduardo? By the way, Eduardo in Mexican, the short of Eduardo is Lalo. Lalo, can I call this Lalo Salinas? So how hot is there in Querétaro?
Yes, in Querétaro, it's one of the cities from Mexico. But right now the weather is a little cold, not like Europe, of course. I think we are like 20 degrees, so that is cold for me.
20 degrees. By the way, you want to know a nice story for the users that are joining from cold places. When I was living there and working with that guy, Lalo, I used to go to for holidays to Cancun, to Yucatan Peninsula. And the guys there, the guys that were renting the cars, they rent a car for moving around in the Yucatan Peninsula, going from Merida to Cancun. They were saying, okay, where do you come from? I said, I'm Mexico City, that is near to Querétaro. I said, it's a cold place, 20 degrees, because usually in Cancun it's 30. So when they fly from Cancun to Mexico City, they usually have some heavy clothes, because 20 is cold.
No, t-shirt weather, 20, definitely.
Yeah. Guys, where are you? Valeria, LinkedIn user, the jealous LinkedIn, where are you connecting from?
LinkedIn user is Abby. We've got Atif, Abby, and Valeria joining so far. Please, as you join, just leave a comment so we know you're here. You can see everything okay, please. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes or so. Atif, thank you very much. I know you commented before as well, so about how much you're looking forward to this, which is fantastic to hear, and hopefully it lives up to your expectations, which I'm sure it will. No pressure, Michele.
And it will be for sure. It will be a fun workshop. By the way, Mark, fantastic. I see that you have something related to the Pink Floyd on your back. It's not Pink Floyd, probably. It's more physics. But
no. If you know me very well, it really is Pink Floyd, not physics.
Yes.
I'm somebody that uses my mouth to do my business and not my brain. So, it's Pink Floyd. My father gave that to me. It's just quite a nice little photo. Yeah.
Fantastic. And do you have the vinyl too of that, or how do you are you of those crazy guys like me that has the original vinyl?
It's probably the most that's actually the thing that I inherited from him, that I'm most proud of. He's got every single Pink Floyd original and Led Zeppelin. So, and he was at all of the concerts as well. It's like my most valuable possession, like in the world, other than myself. But yeah, they're really good.
Fantastic. What is your favorite Led Zeppelin album?
I can't tell an album because I like them, but my favorite song is actually Black Dog.
Black Dog.
Yeah, it's just, I love that riff. I like the whole album's great. So the whole song is great. It's just a good one. Yeah. Stairway to Heaven is always what everybody says, but
yeah,
not very uplifting. So
no. That Black Dog is fantastic too. Valeria from London. So if you want, you have to come to southern of Naples. Then you will have a little bit hotter weather than in the rest of Europe.
Toulouse. Wow, cool. Okay, good. Good.
Toulouse and Valeria from London. Absolutely excellent. Great.
Toulouse. Thank you, Ray from Toulouse. By the way, Lalo, what is your favorite song?
My favorite song, maybe it's a difficult question, but it's a really good question. I think it depends of the time of the life,
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, actually, I think like high school, something like that, I was pretty much fan from Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
So Sweet Child of Mine, I think it should be my best. Actually, I play this music in my wedding.
Yeah.
I opened the wedding with Appetite for Destruction. So of course,
no comment. No.
It was an agreement,
Yeah,
First, music of Guns N' Roses, after the Bugs songs and all these kind of things. But great moment because it was in a great agreement.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. Excellent. Right. Well, we've got people in now. I'm sure they're excited and waiting to get started. So I will leave now, and I'll leave it absolutely up to you guys. Right. Take it away, Michele. Thank you very much. If you have any questions at any time, just leave them as you go along, and we'll answer them as we go along or at the end as well.
Alex will be my personal artificial intelligence clicking on
I
the
already
slide.
am. This is a CGI background. I'm not even.
Yeah, he is not real. He is just a robot. So let's start with the presentation.
How did you know?
Thank you. Okay, let's move forward. So I think everyone knows that we will speak about the dynamic of personal versus public leadership. But let's start seeing who are the people that are talking about this in this context. So it is me, the consultant, long history of transformation in different companies. One of my transformation, I did it in Mexico with Eduardo. Eduardo stayed there and continued his challenges in the company and moved forward. And in a lot of other endeavors, I've did it through Mark, making use of his services. Mark, I know, is for me one of the most reliable persons I know, especially in the sales industry, in putting tech guys industry in the right place, and he's an extremely committed personal and public leader. So especially we will ask him a little bit more about what he does. Eduardo is one of the guys, I think is one of the guys I've worked with that has the ability to face every challenge right away. He knows that he has to solve the problem. He goes there and he solves it. And his history is a testament to this capacity to overcome difficult situations. He started with as in the call center of AXA Insurance, and today is the leader of more than 700 people. So the guy is not a simple guy. So Alex, can you move forward? Mark and Eduardo, can you tell us a little bit more about you, Mark? Let's start with Mark.
Okay, yeah. So Mark Burgess. I'm 34 years old. I started my professional life at 22. Before that, I was a trained infantry soldier for the Royal Anglian Regiment. And I moved into sales on the recommendation of a friend. I worked for a company called K2 Partnering Solutions, which is a world leader in technology staffing. I went from sort of the very rungs, the lowest rungs of the company up to the top in 12 years. And then I left and started two of my own businesses. One is a Salesforce consulting company called Caddy Cloud in the UK. And the other one is Formation Partners, which is a small-sized technology staffing company in Europe with big dreams and ambitions.
And on the personal level, what are your hobbies and challenges and things that you like? Next to music and
apart from Led Zeppelin, no, I'm a keen runner, always have been. I like to try and do things that people tell me that I can't do. Apart from my wife, everyone else. But I guess running and reading about people overcoming personal challenges. They're kind of my two things that I do in my downtime that help me relax.
Fantastic. Lalo, up to the word to you. Who are you and what are your companies and then personal challenges, personal hobbies? And
thank you, Michele. I think in my company's challenges, talking in this way, I always work by myself to develop and enjoy all the positions, all the challenges that I always facing. I start to work very young. I think I have 16 years when I start to have these little jobs to helping in store, helping in something different business. But after finished college, I start to work officially in a company. So it was my company who I'm working right now. I have 20 years working in the same company. But what I like is I start from the beginning, I start in call center, answering the phone. 20 years later, I'm pretty proud of this because I can say now I am the leader of more than 700 people, always pushing them to get more challenges, to get everything better. And a lot of stories between what happened with these different teams who I'm. And of course, one of the most emotional moments was when we were together in Mexico, like, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago, something like that. Because I learned a lot about leadership and training. And what I can say is what I learned in that moment, it's something that I'm using today to help in others, to help by myself, to go to my house. And now I move to my personal challenges. I'm a guy who always live in competition with myself, when we start to do these leaderships goals, I made triathlon, I made marathon, I made swim, I made bicycle. I was physical culture for a couple of years, an extremely difficult discipline because diet, exercise is 100%. But the real training is in your mind. This is the real training because you need to challenge everyone. You need to go with your family. You don't go parties. So it's very difficult. But I think when you're getting better, so it's the moment when you realize you can do much more. So what is this the most important challenge that I face in the personal and public leadership from myself?
Fantastic, both of you. Alex, can you jump to the next slide? So first of all, I would like to introduce something from my personal opinion, and science backs it up. Leadership is something that for sure genetically you have a part that is genetically part of each one of us. But that is only 50% of what leadership is. The other 50%, 40 to 50%, is something that you can work on, that you can learn. So there is a lot of things that you can learn to increment your leadership on a personal level and on a public level. So what are the main differences between personal and public leadership? Can you jump to the next slide? I will just show this table because we will share this presentation. But I think here, let's start with the concept. So personal leadership is overcoming your challenges, your personal things. That can be sport or going to school, getting a degree, something where you have to rely mainly on your personal forces, so your own forces. 80-90% it depends on you. Doesn't depend on others. It depends on you. There's a minimal percentage that depends on others. Public leadership goes from building a team, managing a team, inspiring a team, and then to bit by bit to larger groups of people is 80% to 90% depending on others. And this depending on others, you see that between being a person strong in personal leadership or strong in public leadership, there are two sets of skills that you develop and learn differently. So we will just investigate what personal leadership means for Mark and Eduardo. It's better to go by examples and see what are the common elements of personal leadership. So Mark, can you tell us a little bit about what are your challenges, the challenges that were 90% dependent on you, and that you have overcome? And how have you done that? Where can you start? You just completely free of.
Yeah. Okay. So personal leadership achievements. When I was in the military, I was part of a team who won a gold medal as a reservist in what is known as the world's toughest military patrol competition called Cambrian Patrol. And then when I left the military, I started my professional life. I took it upon myself to complete another load of personal achievements. One of them is I ran 86 miles in 19 hours. And then I've run over 20 marathons and many different ultra marathons too.
20 marathons, wow. So each one of these achievements are very long-lasting, incredible things.
I didn't think that was enough, so I basically became a bit crazy and started running ultra marathons too, which is basically doing more than one in a day or anything over that period. So yeah, I guess they're my most notable sort of personal achievements. I guess your other question was why did you do them, or what
drives you to do that? How do you move yourself? How do you challenge yourself to do that? Because I think there are a lot of people in this chat. I am sometimes one of them. In some periods of my life, I'm one of them. Yes, in the morning, waking up and training for just a simple run, you get crazy, and then you're training for an ultra marathon.
Yeah. Well, I've always liked to push myself. I got told when I was a lot younger that I'm never going to be the most physically fit person. I'm quite small or whatever, and then I think I didn't have the best role models to give me that push. So I've always kind of taken it upon myself to do it myself, and I set myself a challenge, and then I go and do it. But I think the biggest thing to overcome with these personal challenge, let's say in running, it's the preparation that you do in advance. So for the example of running, and I don't know, maybe we can talk more about how this is completely relevant to personal leadership, but if you, in these winter months like we're in now in England, if you don't put those shoes on, that's fine. And you will do that from time to time, but you can bet your bottom dollar that when you're in a high pressure situation, i.e. halfway through a race, the only thing that your mind will focus on is the fact that you didn't do it that one time. It's kind of similar in business too. You have to make every single mistake so that then you can be really good at not making mistakes when it matters. So like what Eduardo said, that's why it's really good to start from the bottom and know what the guys that you're leading are doing and move to the top, but I guess, the hardest thing about kind of those personal runs and stuff, why do you keep going? Well, the sense of achievement and accomplishment, the only things that you ever run about things or remember about things that are tough and challenging, in my book anyway, is the beginning and the end. Like you forget about the race and the part that's in the middle of it. So that keeps me going because I know what it feels like to actually complete them. That's kind of the answer. See, the only way to get through those dark, cold nights are that if you don't do it, it hurts more when you do it. And you might as well do it if you've committed to doing it. But obviously, if your why is there, then the only thing that's going to get you to be able to complete that why is by actually doing the training. To be honest, that's the only thing. And you can run a marathon tomorrow. Anybody in this whole chat can, if your mind is in the right place. But we don't really want to leave that to chance because it doesn't matter how big and strong you are. When it comes to physical exercise, you will hurt a lot if you don't prepare. So you prepare to not fail. I think that answers your question on that front.
Can I make a link to a little bit of psychology theory research? So if I see is like Mark is building one of the elements of the habits that you can build, that everyone can build to motivate himself, is building a contract with others, of a contract with yourself. So in the sense, you don't want to look bad to the others and you don't want to look bad to yourself. That contract is like you are kind of accountable to yourself. That is what Mark does. Mark doesn't want to be, he says, okay, if this morning I'm putting my shoes on or I'm not putting my shoes on, when I will be there running, I will remember of this time that I've not done that. So that is the first element of the contract. I cannot not put the shoes on and go out and running, because it means that I've almost failed a little bit in my contract with myself. And the second, yeah.
Well, just to interject, you can also make that contract easier to fulfill. So you can tell as many people about it as you can that you're going to do something. So then it doesn't just become intrinsic motivation, it's external motivation too. Or you can leave your kit out before you get up in the morning. So you have to walk past it. And if you walk past it, you might as well put it on. X, Y, Z. There's a lot of prep. But
a lot of elements. And the second element of the contract is that it comes from I don't want to be seen. Okay, someone told me that I could not do this. Someone told me that I could never be fit for the purpose. So it's in his contract. His contract with himself and with the others. I am there, and I will run, and I will show that I can do this to myself and others. So that is an extremely powerful trick tool we can use for personal leadership.
Yeah,
Eduardo, let's go to your personal leadership. So,
thank you, Michele. First, Mark, now I am your fan, because it's not easy, and you need a lot of work for that. And I appreciate that you share with us this history. Let me tell you one moment when first, as you say, there's a contract, and there's a contract with yourself, there is a contract with your family, with your friends, with everyone. Because I will tell you the story when I start to get physical culturism and this muscle competition, and extremely difficult. Why? Everything started with a dream. With a dream when I was a kid, because every kid dreams would be the stronger guys. So these kind of things. With the time, I said, and why not? Why not? That is the real question. Why not? You can do it. I don't know if I can do it, but I know I can try. So get better in my diet. Start to training every day, in the morning, in the night. It doesn't matter if you are tired. It doesn't matter you cannot walk, but you need to train because it's the contract. And I start to create these ideas on my mind to say to myself, when you're going to fail, just remember why you're beginning. Why you start this. And it's the commitment comes with you again. So you have this personal and own strong that gives you the force to train another day. And then the competition is here. So you need to be there. I don't know if you're going to win. Of course, win always is a good goal. But the first challenge that you need to face is with yourself, because I said, if I want to be the guy who is part of the 1% of the population, I need to do what 99% of the people doesn't do. So this is the kind of ideas that you need to have and you need to explore in your mind to create. And what I always say is shift your mind. So say to yourself, you can do it. It doesn't matter if it's strong. It doesn't matter if it hurts, of course, in a healthy way. But with your mind is in the goal and you are focused and the commitment with yourself, then everything is easier. But it's what it looks like. But honestly, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Because you need to face, I don't know in other countries, but at least in Mexico, for example, if you go with your family and you don't eat with your family what your family is eating, you are a rude guy, So it's an insult. So when my brother says, come eat with us, and I said, no, thank you, I just want to spend vegetables. And they said, you're a bad guy because you're not with the family. And I said, please understand my goals. Please understand what I want, because I want to have this family. But if you're not aligned with my goals, then I don't want to find another way, because you are my family, you know.
Yeah.
So in this case, convince to yourself and always making challenges every day, and say, why I'm training today, why I'm doing this, because my arms are, it hurts. And you say, because I decide to start, so I decide to finish. So what I'm doing this because I do it yesterday, and I will do it tomorrow, and I will do until the day I get my goal. So this is one of the stories on a personal leaderships that I have, and I love it because, you know, in at work, with friends, with family, everyone says, "Don't go to train, come to the party, do this," and they are not in the bad way, you know. And so it's not because they don't want you to achieve your goals. It's just be with your friends, but you need to be focused on what you are doing. And at the end, after I think it was like 1.5 year of training and diet, so I get to the competition. I didn't win anything, but I don't care, because
Yeah.
I was in the mood that I dreamed when I was a kid. And that, for me, it was an extremely good, because I convinced to myself that everyone can do whatever they want. They just need the right training and the right motivation.
Fantastic. Let me give fantastic, Eduardo. So I can bring a little bit of theory and science behind this. So the point of Eduardo that is typical for all of us when we're working on personal goals or on public goals, company goals, is the surroundings. Maybe your best friends are telling you not to do. Why you are going there? Let's come with us to a party, do something else. It's precisely what happened to Lalo. And what Lalo made is making another tool that is often used in personal leadership, that each one of us can use, is making your vision of what you want to achieve emotionally, not only visually, much stronger than everything that is around you. Because otherwise you will go eat the pizza with your friends. You will do that, but that making that picture emotionally many times stronger than everything else will help you in good and bad bad time. Mark, you wanted to say something, but I think we can use this vision also for the public leadership. There is a very nice comment
that comment is one that I think I'd like to pick up. So someone's obviously, do you find it necessary to adopt or adapt your personal leadership approach when transitioning from private to public leadership situations, or vice versa? In what ways? That's actually a great question, to be honest. I think if I give my own example in that, so basically, I just tell you what I do, and then maybe I can tell you why it's relevant. So the hardest part of what I do is I'm what's called a billing sales manager. So what it is basically I have to maintain a healthy personal revenue myself, whilst also helping the others build their own. That's kind of, this doesn't sound hard at all, but when you've got a team of 12 people that need to be hitting their targets and yours as well, it is quite tough. But why is that hard? Well, essentially, you need to hit the figures yourself while sharing that strategy with others to hit theirs. And that has really big parallels with what I would say in the personal leadership front. So if I look at what I did in my former life, being in the British military, in the infantry, in the army, I would coin the phrase that nobody follows an unfit officer into a battle. One of the biggest things that's really good in the British military anyway is that every single person in the infantry and every single rank has to pass the same physical tests every single year, or they're not qualified to be operational fit. So, and these tests are not just an attendance, they're hard, and you have to do it up until 60 when you retire. And you can bet your bottom dollar that in my former regiment, even to this day, probably even more now, because I left that environment 12 years ago, and a lot's happened in the world since then, that the people that are leading you, providing that public leadership, they were not the people who would come last. They are always the people that are in the top 10%, or if not first. And in my regiment, it was always first. So you have to lead by example. I think it's quite a big thing. And I'm quite biased because it's kind of about me, but I would not expect that anybody to be able to be telling someone to do something. In my job, in a sales environment, it's different in every industry, right? But unless I could actually do that job as good as them, or on a high level myself, this is what I think leading by example is, or what public leadership is. It's, how can you expect your team to follow and be successful with you if you've not been there and worn a t-shirt yourself and continuously show up to do it as well? Cue the sales leaders that haven't sold anything in 12 years telling the people how to do it. The world changes. You need to be in the mix all the time. And it's the same with marathons as well, or personal fitness. Like if I had to go and get marathon training advice, I wouldn't go to someone who's never ran a marathon before. So a big thing that I, personally, I'm proud of in my public leadership anyway, although this isn't selling me, but I always do that job, and I'll be in the trenches with the guys doing it too. And I think that so it is necessary to adapt your approach. Like, I'm very, very, very hard on myself if I don't do something in my personal leadership approach. Like, I beat myself up about it. I wouldn't do that to my team as much, but I do think it's quite, it's quite sort of easy to portray that over to your team as well, that you're leading by example.
Okay, Eduardo, can you go on how your background has helped you to be a great public leader, at least a leader in your company? And then I would like to, Ray, can you a little bit define what do you mean by strategic leadership versus line leadership, so that we will be able to discuss about that? So Lalo, continue, and then since Ray, when Ray answers the question, then we can hook into that.
Okay. Public leadership, I think is the important thing is what you learn in your job. Because I remember when I start my first leader opportunities in the company, I had a lot of bosses, but I have a few leaders. These guys who always is telling you cannot do something, you're not, you don't have the knowledge or the capability. But it depends how you take this feedback that people give you, because you can be angry, you can decide to not consider these comments, but you can identify and say, okay, maybe I don't like the way you are saying this, but maybe you're right. So I need more knowledge, I need more experience. And then you need to identify if you need to really work in yourself to create this leader. I have leaders that I say, when I had the opportunity, I will never do that. But of course, I have leaders that I said, I would like to copy that style, because one day I will be like this guy. And I remember when my first team, I think it was like 20 people on my team, and I need to lead all of them. And it was in a very operative team, so I need to learn what they are doing. I need to learn how they communicate to solve the problems of the department, But with the time, I was creating this style that to myself, and I said, if I get a better leader, then I need to create this network of people who really can teach me something. Then starting to have different levels of communication with people, because you cannot talk in the same level with an operative guy than with another director, because the understanding of the business is different, the commitment is different. So is the communication style, it is the way you are going as a leader, always helping the others, because then the technical guys always have this knowledge very clear, but the people who is not technical, they need to understand if you can help them with the right training, with the right capacity, they can do everything. So if you help people to be a better leader, with the moment you will not be necessary. And that's not a bad decision,
Yeah.
because you are creating a team, a high performance team. And with the time, you will be the public leader that everyone wants to work with, because you are helping others. I think that's my point, what I see with the public leadership from my side.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then I will go to Ray. To Ray Edgar, that, by the way, I think we are diametrical. I totally don't agree with what Ray is saying. Just to finalize what Eduardo is saying, he has defined his own style, and he is there to train and to help his people to become leaders. He's creating other leaders. By the way, he's in Querétaro. Is once every, how many months do you have the meeting with your directors, Lalo?
I have twice during the year, but the thing is, twice a year I select one state of the country, and then we have the meeting in that state. So everyone moves, go there and talk about leadership, strategic results. And I have some trainings about communication, because this is the thing, the people needs to believe where they are very important. So it's not bring the people to the corporative building. So you need to go to the field with them. So walk the process with people helps them to do better. So, and I do this for a couple of years ago.
So fantastic. Do you know, have you done all the jobs, and do you know all the departments of the directors that are reporting to you, in the sense, were you there doing all the jobs that the guys that are working for your directors are doing? Do you know them? Do you know them? Have you worked in those in each one of the departments that are working for you?
Most of them, yes, I work on them. Not
all of them. Are you defining strategies?
Yes.
A lot of strategies. So let's connect with Ray. I don't agree with the fact that Elon Musk is just a motivational guy that does strategic leadership. He says, "I want to put a guy on Mars," and then he doesn't know how to put the guy on Mars. He has a lot of knowledge. He sits down there with each of his team members, and he has done a lot of that work himself. For sure, he has not built an engine, but he knows how an engine looks like. He's talking to the guys every day. So Eduardo is doing the same. He has a lot of experience in the different fields, but when he's defining the strategy, he's defining the strategy also with the guys where he has never worked with before, or the departments that he has never worked before, and he knows them inside out. With them is building the motivation to move.
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot to be said about credibility as a leader as well. Like, again, I can only really talk about my own sort of experience, because I've not worked for a company with more than 1,000 people working for it, so it might not be relevant to everybody in this call. But if you plonk like a guy or lady from a completely different business into one of mine, and then they can have the best vision in the world, people will not follow that person. It's a fact. Like, if they cannot speak the same language as you, as the people that are actually doing the work on the ground, they cannot accomplish public leadership. It's credibility. So Elon Musk, you like him or not like him, whatever, he in my view establishes great credibility. I can bet any money to anybody in this call that if he sat down with a leader of every single one of his departments, he could sit there for 10 hours, 20 hours and have a conversation with that person about that strategy for that business. And that's not just because he was born with a brain that can tell that. It's because he works 20 hours a day in that business and gets to know every single thing about it. You know, and a visionary leader, one of the best ever directors that I had when he joined, even me, a measly 21-year-old level 1 sales associate, he came and sat down with me for 30 minutes. You know, a proper leader will know more than you think, I believe. It's not just about the visionary, although that is a really good point, because it is important, you know, to be able to storytell and articulate all of those details and hopes and dreams and stuff. But I'd say, I think a lot of it's to do with credibility, and you get more credibility in a business if you understand that business quite a lot. That's just my view.
if you show that you are understanding that business. And what look, we agreed, Ray, is the capacity of Elon goes beyond only building a fantastic vision, an emotionally connected vision. You remember we had it for the personal goals. The same kind of vision, you needed to build it for an organization, and you need to share it with your guys. But if you don't have the credibility that you know what you are talking about, people will not follow you. And you cannot define real strategies. That is what we are discussing here. Even strategic strategies. And in order to do this, you see, look, you need to motivate your team. So the vision is the number one, but building trust and relatedness with all the guys that are there. How do you build that, Eduardo, with your guys?
I love the question because I always let people participate in the definition of the strategy. And there's always, even if this is a small idea, what they have, something they want to say, this what when a person says, I think we can do this, that's great. That line will be in the strategic that we are following everyone this year. So the people feels this connection, the people feels they are participating on this. And sometimes it doesn't matter if it is not or not a good idea. The important thing is they need to be part of the definition of the strategic. And even with humility, you need to say, I need to learn to make a better questions, because I never make the line to the people what they need to do. I don't do that. Once, because I really believe they know much than me. They have more knowledge and experience in their own field. My work is to put everything together and create a strategy, not correct them to handle their business. That's why they are the experts guy. But if you allow them participate on this, the strategic will be alone, and you only give the advice, have the trust with the people, and they have the commitment to achieve the goals that everyone are committed.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Mark, how do you do it with your sales guys, with the guys that are working with you, or with the other guys in your field?
So salespeople are notoriously, myself included, everybody, let's say there's 5 elements of it. You're always going to have the one guy that's really bad at reporting, or one person that is shy of speaking on the phone or whatever. So and it's in all elements of the business. So what we try, or what we do, obviously, I would actually echo exactly what Eduardo said on bringing everybody into that vision. I've seen it done where it's kind of like, I don't know anything about what's going on, I'm just told to do it, which doesn't help. But in a military organization, for instance, every single person in the patrol of 8 people, before they go out for that patrol, has a 3-hour orders where they know everything that goes on. I don't know if it's the same in all militaries, but in British military anyway, in the infantry, you're all involved in that order making process from like the cannon fodder upwards in a patrol. In a sales organization, what did we used to do? Well, if you had somebody that wasn't going towards that common goal, and let's say it's reporting, then you make the person that's worst at it the champion of it. So if they know, for instance, that they're going to, then that they have to have something by a Monday or a Wednesday because it affects the rest of the team if they don't, and they're always the one that misses it. Like, just make that person the champion of it. Make that person, and then it's like, oh, okay, I actually have to do this because it affects everybody else. And then if they don't do it, then you don't want them in your team, right? So maybe it's not the right point, but I think to get people to achieve common goals, you have to empower the people to want to do it with you, and the way to do that is give them a bit more responsibility, and obviously, usually you give the responsibility to the person that's the best at it. But if you want everybody in your team to be on the same level, why not give the person that's the worst at it, or needs a lot of improving on it, or doesn't take it as seriously, the responsibility for that bit? That's my own take on it. I don't know if it's relevant, but that's what
absolutely. Look, we are going through examples, through real life examples, and then the theory and the scientific proven theory in psychology. And there are good shots. I like the tip. Make them a champion of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a catch. It could not work, but I feel that you do find out the true motivations of your team members then, because they'll all each other.
And that is the same that Eduardo does, Lalo does in his teams. He's making them champions. He's listening to each one of them. And if you look at the connections between personal and public, so to get to the end of this call, because I don't want that it gets much longer than it should be. We can stay here for hours speaking about the two different elements. Key points that we have learned today. Build personal leadership. Build an extremely strong, emotionally strong vision of what you want to achieve. Build a contract with yourself and stick to that contract. Remember that when you're sticking to that contract, willpower is like a battery. We skipped through the slides, but we will share it with them. Willpower is like a battery. It depletes for every frustration that you have. It depletes for every decision you make, but you can recharge it. So you have to recharge the battery to stick to that contract and to have that goal in mind. If you see on the public level, again, you need to be such a good storyteller, and that there with Ray agree with the strategic leadership of Elon Musk, that you want to share that emotionally strong vision with the others, but making a sense that is worth for everyone in your group to be part of that. Now, a vision alone is not enough. In the motivational theory, a vision seems to be good, but it's not the only factor of the strongest factor to move a crowd of people. The connection, the trust, the likability of the leader, the trustability of the leader. So you need to be trusted. And that is what Eduardo is, and Mark is, and what is a surgeon or a lieutenant in the army is. You will not follow a lieutenant he has not fought in a war, because you will be afraid to be shot at the first step in the battlefield. So that trustability and the capacity to build that relatedness and autonomy in your group is extremely important. At the team level, 10, 20 people. At a bigger team level, 700 people like Eduardo has. He does it through his lieutenants, through his directors. At the global level, at the public level, how many public leaders do we have? Okay, what were the strongest public leaders? Usually were guys that were building stories, but they were also building a connected group of people that were sharing the world. So there are all elements that can be looked into details, but I think we got to the end of this call. So I hope that if you have enjoyed it, please leave it in the comments or send feedback to Alexander. The word to Eduardo, to Mark, big thank to both of them, and to Alexander to have coordinated us for this call, for this webinar, and to Lithe, Abby, and Abram. Anything you want to say, Eduardo, Mark, to cheer, to salute the crowd that has followed us for these 49 minutes?
Not me. Just feel free to reach out on LinkedIn if I didn't explain anything correctly. But always good to. This is my first time doing this, by the way, so it was fun.
Look, he's in the army. He is an ultramarathon runner, and I had to push him to do this.
Yeah, he gets nervous still, but it was great, actually. Thanks a lot for that. I learned a lot from Eduardo. It's really good. And you, Michele, as I always do every time I speak to you, mate. So cheers.
Thank you, Mark. Eduardo, you.
Yeah. Thank you, Michele, for the great opportunity to share this experience that I had on my life and hear the good stories great stories from Mark. Mark, nice to meet you. Really nice to meet you. And for everyone who is listening to this, just the idea to trust in people, because people can do everything. They just need the right training, the right way of doing everything. And I love the comment who says from there, create champions and then give them responsibility. I think it's a great idea. So put in this way, because it incredible if you trust in people what they can do. Just give them the confidence, and you have the confidence they can do. So thank you so much for share this this session. I really loved the chat. It was great for me.
Cool.
Thank you, each one of you, and thank you, Ray Edgar, for your comments. We appreciate you participating. Thank you so much.
Guys, bye.
Bye, guys.
Have a nice day. Goodbye.
You too.